Myles Garrett. Myles Garrett looks like he was engineered to ruin offensive lines, and his size alone makes that obvious. At 6'5" and 272 pounds, he moves with a burst that shouldn't belong to someone that massive. His ridiculous strength shows up in the numbers. In 2023, he generated a pressure on nearly 1 out of every 5 pass rush snaps, something no other edge rusher matched over a full season. Garrett's long arm technique devastates tackles who try to anchor, and his ghost rush is so flexible, it looks animated. Few players can wreck plays before they begin, yet Garrett routinely forces quarterbacks off their spots in under 2.5 seconds. When Cleveland beat the Colts in 2023, he delivered one of the craziest all-around performances ever recorded, including 2 sacks, a forced fumble, and a field goal block he cleared in a single leap. And if that sounds overwhelming, the next freak didn't rely on force. He weaponized speed like a superpower. Calvin Johnson. Calvin Johnson created mismatches the moment he stepped on the field because defenders had no way to counter a receiver built like an NBA forward with track speed. At 6'5" with rare explosiveness, he bullied smaller corners and outjumped safeties routinely. His 2012 season still stands above the rest. An NFL record 1964 receiving yards and 8 straight 100-yard games. Defenses triple covered him, yet he still averaged over 122 yards per game. Johnson's catch radius remains the largest many coaches have ever charted, turning inaccurate throws into highlight catches. His 329-yard game against the Cowboys remains one of the wildest single-game performances in league history. Even when defenders played perfect technique, his strength at the catch point and long stride speed made him unstoppable. Nobody blended size, grace, and dominance the way Megatron did. And while Calvin destroyed teams vertically, the next freak devastated them from the inside, exploding through gaps like a missile. Deion Sanders. Deion Sanders ran so effortlessly that defenders looked like they were stuck in mud trying to match him. His legendary 4.27 speed was not just fast, it created fear. Quarterbacks posted passer ratings in the teens when throwing his direction, and sometimes entire games passed without him being targeted because coaches refused to risk a pick six. Deion recorded 53 interceptions despite being avoided more than any corner of his era, and he turned 9 returns into touchdowns, proving he was lethal anytime he touched the ball. His 1994 season stands as one of the most dominant ever for a defensive back, giving up fewer than 200 total yards in coverage all year. Receivers described him as gliding, closing space so suddenly it felt unfair. What made Deion a freak was not just long speed, but the ability to accelerate instantly from any stance. And while he erased players with finesse, the next monster broke defenses with physical traits humans aren't supposed to have. Aaron Donald. Aaron Donald's dominance is rooted in leverage, explosiveness, and efficiency that shouldn't exist in one player. Standing shorter than most defensive tackles gave him a natural pad level advantage. But what made him freakish was how violently he used it. Donald's 20th .5 sack season in 2018 is absurd for any defender, but from an interior lineman, it's borderline supernatural. His pass rush win rates regularly exceed 25%, meaning he wins 1 of every 4 reps despite being double-teamed more than almost any player in football. Donald's hands strike with shocking speed, allowing him to shed block before guards even set their feet. He has posted over 100 pressures in a season, something typically reserved for elite edge rushers. His ability to knife through double teams disrupts run games before they start. An entire protection shift when he lines up, and while Donald terrorized the trenches with relentless power, the next freak changed football by turning raw aggression into a nightmare for every quarterback of his era. Lawrence Taylor. Lawrence Taylor turned offensive football into a survival exercise. His combination of power and burst didn't just produce sacks, it produced panic. Taylor recorded 20.5 sacks in 1986 on his way to winning MVP, one of only a few defenders in history to claim the award. Coaches still teach protection schemes built specifically because LT forced the league to rethink blocking rules. His ability to flatten around the edge made tackles look unprepared, and his closing speed shocked quarterbacks who thought they had a clean pocket. Even without complete early career stats, he finished with 132.5 official sacks and countless pressures before the stat existed. LT's presence alone forced teams to keep backs and tight ends in protection, limiting entire playbooks. His violent hand usage and non-stop motor made him the most disruptive defender the NFL had ever seen. And while Taylor dominated through controlled chaos, the next freak produced numbers so explosive, it barely mattered how often he touched the ball. Bo Jackson. Bo Jackson is likely the greatest athlete of all time, and the stat sheet proves it. He averaged 5.4 yards per carry across his career, despite facing stacked boxes and predictable schemes. His 91-yard touchdown run on Monday Night Football erased pursuit angles instantly, and his truck stick on Brian Bosworth became part of NFL mythology. Bo's baseball training gave him a stride length that defenders misjudged constantly, letting him reach speeds over 21 miles per hour long before Jeep's tracking became common. His power was equally freakish. Linebackers bounced off him like they underestimated his balance. In multiple games, he surpassed 200 rushing yards on minimal carries, turning basic zone runs into national events. What makes Bo different is that his dominance came without needing volume. Every touch threatened to break the structure of the defense. And while Bo blended track speed with brute force, the next freak weaponized glide, timing, and body control to obliterate secondaries. Randy Moss. Randy Moss warped NFL coverage rules the moment he arrived. As a rookie, he scored 17 touchdowns, a record that still stands, and he did it on just 69 catches, which is terrifying efficiency. In 2007, he set the single-season record with 23 receiving touchdowns, routinely torching double coverage while making deep balls look effortless. Moss didn't need separation because his timing and body control let him win at the catch point against anyone. He led the league in yards per reception multiple times, showing how explosive he was, even on limited touches. Defensive coordinators created specific Moss rules, including off-coverage shells designed solely to prevent him from humiliating cornerbacks. Fans coined the term "you got mossed" because there was simply no other way to describe his highlight plays. His blend of acceleration, reach, and coordination felt unfair. And while Moss terrorized defenses through the air, the next freak rewrote the idea of what a quarterback could do on the ground. Michael Vick. Michael Vick broke football geometry. In 2006, he became the first quarterback ever to rush for over 1,000 yards, and he did it while averaging a wild 8.4 yards per carry, the highest figure in league history for a qualifying player. His acceleration turned broken plays into 40-yard gains before defenders could adjust their pursuit angles. Vick produced some of the fastest GPS-tracked runs of his era even before modern technology measured them accurately. His left-handed deep ball was equally absurd. He once threw a 60-yard touchdown without planting his back foot. Defenses created spirals just to limit him, yet he still turned contain into disaster with sudden direction changes that made defenders freeze. Watching him escape a clean pocket felt like watching a storm break containment. Vick didn't just extend plays, he detonated them. Before we go any further, only cool people are subscribed to this channel, so hit that subscribe button before we go any further. Adrian Peterson. Adrian Peterson ran with a level of violence and stamina that made him feel inevitable. In 2012, just months after tearing his ACL and MCL, he stunned the world by rushing for 2,097 yards, finishing only 9 yards shy of Eric Dickerson's single-season record. He averaged over 6 yards per carry that year, shredding stacked boxes because defenses simply could not slow him down. Peterson recorded 78 career rushing touchdowns and 3,000 yards before turning 25, numbers that belong to video game simulations. His ability to accelerate after contact made him uniquely terrifying. Defenders often hit him first, only to watch him run another 15 yards. Peterson also owns the record for most rushing yards in a single game with 296, a performance that still feels mythical. He did not need a perfect scheme, just spaced the width of a doorway. And while Peterson dominated with relentlessness, the next freak created demolition highlights with a throwable force no lineman could withstand. Reggie White. Reggie White earned the nickname the Minister of Defense because he preached punishment every time he lined up. His trademark hump move remains one of the most unstoppable pass rushing actions ever invented, launching 300-pound linemen into the air like they were crash test dummies. White finished with 198 sacks, still the second most in NFL history, and posted double-digit sacks in 12 different seasons. In 1987, during a strike-shortened year, he recorded 21 sacks in only 12 games, a pace no modern player has threatened. White brought rare efficiency too, forcing over 60 fumbles across his career and collapsing pockets instantly with raw power paired with surprising speed. Even late in his career, he recorded 16 sacks at age 37, proving he aged differently than everyone else. Coach's game planned entire protections solely around him. And while Reggie dominated with pure physical authority, the next freak used explosive legs and rare agility to turn routine carries into full sprints. Saquon Barkley. Saquon Barkley entered the league with quads so massive they became headline photos, but the freakish part is how effectively he uses them. At 233 pounds, he reportedly ran a 4.3340, creating acceleration that linebackers misjudge constantly. His rookie season remains one of the greatest ever recorded, 2,028 scrimmage yards and 91 receptions, making him only the third rookie in history to eclipse 2,000 yards. Barkley consistently produces outrageous yards after contact because his balance barely breaks even when defenders hit him squarely. In 2024, he carried Philadelphia's offense, accounting for over 36% of their total yardage while breaking the franchise rushing record. His ability to reverse field without losing speed makes even disciplined defenses look disorganized. Barkley hurdles tacklers at full sprint, something almost nobody attempts, much less lands safely. His combination of strength, agility, and burst feels completely engineered. And while Barkley slices through defenses with dynamism, the next freak pounds them into submission with long-distance punishment. Derrick Henry. Derrick Henry is built like a defensive end, but runs like a freight train gathering momentum downhill. At 6'3" and around 247 pounds, no running back in modern history carries that size while still housing 90-yard touchdowns with regularity. Henry owns the NFL record for most 200-yard rushing games in a career with 6. And in 2020, he became just the 8th player ever to break 2,000 rushing yards in a season. His stiff arm deserves its own highlight reel category. He recorded more broken tackles via stiff arm between 2019 and 2022 than entire franchises did. Henry's long stride speed shocks defenders who take what looks like a perfect angle, only to watch him pull away. In the fourth quarter, he becomes a different problem entirely. Defenses wear down, and Henry gets stronger, leading the league in fourth quarter rushing yards multiple times. And while Henry pulverizes defenders, the next freak used size and agility to dominate on both edges and passing lanes. Julius Peppers. Julius Peppers looked like he was built to play every sport at once, and his production backed it up. At nearly 6'7" and close to 295 pounds, he moved with the fluidity of a tight end and the explosiveness of a power forward. Peppers recorded 159.5 career sacks, the fourth most in NFL history, and added 21 forced fumbles along with 11 interceptions, an absurd number for a defensive lineman. He is the only player ever with at least 100 sacks and 10 interceptions, proving his freakish range extended far beyond the pass rush. Peppers routinely batted passes at the line because his wingspan swallowed throwing lanes. His durability was equally freakish. He played 17 seasons and missed only 2 games in his first 10 years. Even in his late 30s, he produced meaningful pressure snaps. And while Peppers dominated with towering athleticism, the next freak combined sculpted explosiveness and sprint speed to become a nightmare for secondaries. DK Metcalf. DK Metcalf looks like he stepped out of a superhero drawing, and his athletic profile is flat out outrageous. At 6'4" and around 235 pounds, he ran a 4.3340 with a 40.5-inch vertical, numbers that do not belong to someone with his frame. His ability to maintain top speed while tracking deep balls makes him one of the league's premier vertical threats. The most famous example came when he chased down Buda Baker from across the field, reaching over 22 miles per hour while closing a 4-yard deficit like it was nothing. Metcalf broke Seattle's single-season receiving record with 1,303 yards and remains a nightmare matchup for any corner lacking both strength and speed. He boxes defenders out like a power forward and shrugs off jams at the line with ease. Once he hits the open field, safeties simply hope for a poor throw. And while Metcalf overwhelms defenses physically, the next freak used charisma, size, and brute force to redefine quarterback play. Cam Newton. Cam Newton arrived as a quarterback prototype nobody had seen before. At 6'5" and around 250 pounds, he carried linebacker mass with sprinter acceleration and goal line power. His 2015 MVP season remains a masterpiece. 45 total touchdowns, over 4,400 combined yards, and a 15-1 start fueled by impossible red zone dominance. Newton has 75 career rushing touchdowns, the most by any quarterback ever, and he still holds multiple records for rushing scores scores in a season at his position. Defenses essentially had to treat short yardage like they were facing a running back who could also laser the ball 60 yards downfield. His ability to absorb contact and keep plays alive made Carolina's offense unpredictable and dangerous. Newton's short yardage success rate was the highest among quarterbacks during his prime, turning third and fourth downs into extensions of his will. Cam blended power, creativity, and presence in a way the league has not replicated since. If you liked this video, consider watching this next one, which YouTube thinks you are going to really love.